We left off Friday with Sonnet 116, and we had done the first 8 lines, I believe, the first 2 quatrains. So let me read those 8 lines again, and then we'll pick up with line 9. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love, which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever-fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips in cheeks, within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. So before we look at the final couplet, let's look at those few lines. So, love is the star to every wandering bark. That is, it's the pole star. It's the guide. If you're in the northern hemisphere, if you can find Polaris, the northern star, the North Star, the North Pole star, if you can find Polaris, you can navigate. If you're in the southern hemisphere, you use the Southern Cross to navigate. Same kind of thing, right? So he says, it's the star to every wandering bark, bark meaning ship. Love, this ideal that he's talking about, is the reference point, okay? Whose worth's unknown, that is, what love is unknown, although its height, and he's talking about what's called the azimuth, taking a sextant and marking the degrees from the horizon to the height of the star, okay? That tells you where you are latitude-wise, okay? So if you can find that, you can figure out where you are and go, east, west, and such. Love's not time's fool. Time's fool. What's meant by that? Love's not time's plaything. It's not time's bauble. It's not time's toy. Okay? Though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Okay? What's his bending sickle's compass? How is time visually often depicted? Two words. You guys are all too young. The Grim Reaper. Right? Ebenezer Scrooge's third phantom. Dressed in black, cowl over the face. Okay? Reaper. What is time in this depiction usually carrying? A sickle. What do you use a sickle for? Very few people do it today because they use combines. It's to cut wheat. It's to cut grass, right? So, love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. So you can't stand upright and use a sickle. You got to bend over, okay? Bending sickle's compass, circle, okay? So the Grim Reaper is standing here and has a sickle in his hand, okay? The blade is here, making a rotation. That's the circle. It's the circle of time, or Mufasa's, the circle of life, so to speak. Okay? Notice, what are we told? Within this compass come what? Rosy lips and cheeks. Why? Rosy, implication is young, full of blood, blushing, Okay? But it's also implying, go back for a moment, love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. It's like this thing as it moves around, it intersects what? Other people's compass. We talk about spheres of influence. Okay? Well, what does the sphere refer to? By the way, it is a very ancient idea. Goes back to, at least 2nd century BC, probably much earlier. I don't think Plato talked about it, he might. Which we'll talk about especially in a few moments when we get to, well, not in a few moments, a couple days when we get to John Donne. But spheres of influence talks about, I have my, so to speak, sphere of influence, referring to people I know. Today we use the term networking. Your network. Why? Because that's a computer term. It's referring to wiring and such. This is a much older, different kind of image. Within his bending sickle's compass come, love alters not with his, what's the his referring to? Times, brief hours and weeks. Love doesn't do what? It doesn't wear out with time, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. Okay? Even to the edge of doom. There's a line in the Protestant wedding ceremony, I'm trying to remember how it goes. Till death do us part. That's the doom part. Okay? It bears it out. What does that verb bears imply? Notice because of the meter of the line, hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, meter of the line requires that to be a single syllable. The word even is pronounced as one syllable, een. Otherwise, it's a hypermetric line. It's got 11 syllables. It's iambic pentameter, so it needs to have 5 feet, 10 syllables. So he can't say, but enjoys it out, right? Because we think of love as what? It's good, it's pleasurable, it's enjoyable. Bearing something implies it's a burden. It bears it out. It endures. The modern, highly romanticized ideal of love, that it should all be about pleasure, and when it's no longer about pleasure, just, get away from the one you love and love the one you're with. Old Stephen Bishop song from the 1970s. It's ridiculous. It's a commitment. It's about promise, not feeling. Okay? Now notice the couplet. Right? What does a couplet in Shakespeare's sonnets usually do? It's the summation. It's like the lawyer standing up at the end of a trial addressing the jury. Right? If this be error, the previous 12 lines, if I'm wrong, and upon me proved, and proven to me, or upon me proved, can mean proven by me. If it's proven to be wrong by me, like by my actions, by my words, I never wrote, past tense, Shakespeare's day for writ, nor no man ever loved. Notice what the final couplet essentially does. It admits of a logical contradiction, right? I'm going to pass this around in a moment. Because the speaker has just done what? Wrote this poem. So the speaker has writ. And if the speaker has writ, then man has lived. Is the speaker here suggesting this is what everyone's love is like? No. I mentioned the other day, we're going to come back to this in a minute. I mentioned the other day Shakespeare's first folio, and I said I had a facsimile that I would pass around. This is the facsimile of the first folio of Shakespeare. You know, I'm going to pass it around, you can take it. That's about the size of the original book. Okay? This is photographic facsimile of every page of all of the plays in the first folio. Not all of Shakespeare's plays are in there, however. It's a heavy sucker, so what's this poem saying? Notice what the marriage is of. True minds. These are minds that are being married. Okay? It's not necessarily about, let me put it this way. It's not necessarily about romantic, sexual, erotic love. This is a joining of the minds. Okay? And the speaker is suggesting that minds that are joined in this kind of love won't separate or won't be separated if one of those minds suddenly turns away. Let me rephrase that. I used this example the other day. A, B, C. If A and B have a marriage of true minds, and then B suddenly falls in love with C, okay, true minds, so to speak, the speaker is saying A will what? A will not say, F you, I'm finding someone else. A will bear it out until the edge of doom. Bear it out. What? A's intellectual, spiritual, platonic, call it what you want. But it's up here, it's not down here. It's this love. A is essentially saying, no matter what you do, I will always love you. Period. That's unconditional, no matter what happens. Okay? So why? Why does the speaker give us this sonnet? Now, you've not read all the other sonnets. We've read a couple. But what has apparently happened in the relationship? Go back for a moment. Go back for a moment to Sonnet 93. So shall I live, supposing thou art true, like a deceived husband. It's not that thou art true like a deceived husband. It's I shall live like a deceived husband, supposing thou art true. Notice, the husband, the speaker is implying, knows that the lover is false. But what? I'm going to overlook that. Why? Because of this kind of love. Now, people want to read the sonnets, a lot of people, awful lot of people, want to read the sonnets biographically. That is, that the sonnets are describing the writer, William Shakespeare's relationships with whoever else. Okay? Have at it. The only problem is we don't know specifically who the whoever else is. We don't know who the golden-haired youth is. There are at least 3, possibly as many as 5 or 6 possibilities, okay, of who they could refer to. Henry Wriothesley and, William Herbert and a couple of others. The Dark Lady, we're not quite sure. Could be at least a couple of different women, okay? And if that's the case, then what is being described? It's not this, it's this. And it's like, these two are first the lovers, and in this kind of reading, it is romantic sexual love, all right? But then, so in that case, it becomes homoerotic love, because the speaker in the first 100 or so sonnets is addressing a man, all right? But then we get this person introduced in Sonnet 127, and this is the Dark Lady, okay? Or, let me rephrase that. This is a platonic love on this side, and this is a sexual, or up here, romantic love on this side. And what happens? What's the common denominator between all this? It's the speaker. Okay? Spheres of influence, right? So the speaker has sphere of influence, sphere of influence, sphere of influence. Notice right here is where all 3 meet. Speaker introduces platonic intellectual friendship lover here to in-bed sex physical lover here, and B turns to C. So shall I live, supposing thou art true. A is speaking to B, but B is no longer true. Why? Because B's heart is now with C. And that's why A says about B, but I look at you and I cannot see hate in your face. But you just go on. And so now we get this relationship, and something has happened in this relationship. Okay? There's also another distinction to be drawn. The speaker, for lack of a better phrase, is lower in society's eyes, in society's estimation, maybe class, than the lover. The golden-haired youth seemingly is of a higher social status, which is why one of the sonnets we did not read, hold on, let me see if I can find it. I actually have it in the sonnets that I have on the syllabus. Not 71. Yeah, Sonnet 71 is at least one of them. Because the sonnet says, don't moan after I'm dead. That is, don't complain, don't sigh, etc., etc. Why? Because if you do, the wise world, that is, the world thinking it is wise, will seek to look into what is the cause of your distress. And they will link you to me and mock you. See, there's no reason for the beloved to be mocked if the two are on an even social standing. But if the beloved here loves someone, whether physically or mentally, loves someone lower, that's a problem in a class society. You can't have that. In Shakespeare's day, very rigid class society. All right? Okay, go from there to, so that was Sonnet 116. Look at 127. Now, I've mentioned before in Shakespeare's day, in the Elizabethan period, what is, I'll have a good piece to use here, what is the conception of beauty? This, white. I don't mean white like I'm white. I mean white, 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 white. Okay? Portraits we have of Queen Elizabeth have her face powdered white. Okay? It's that idea of whiteness. It's unreal, right? Yes, it is definitely unreal. It's artificial. And so you get an awful lot of writing about artifice and beauty, the made-up beauty. And Shakespeare's going to write about some of that too. Now, bear in mind, like I said the other day, by the time Shakespeare is writing his sonnets, and he's writing them at least in the mid-1590s, because we have reference to him as a sonneteer. Okay? Sonnet sequences began in the 1550s. Lots of people wrote sonnet sequences. Shakespeare's picking it up kind of at the end of its heyday. It's like going to see a Marvel movie now, as opposed to going to see a Marvel movie in the early 2000s or up to 2015 or so. Most of my family went and saw the Eternals the other day and were like, it's really not worth it. Anyways, I didn't see it. So Shakespeare's, picking up on the tradition, but he's going to start doing something a little bit different. I'll take that back. He's going to start doing something a lot of it different. He's going to turn elements of the tradition totally on its head. Okay? So, 127. 1 through 126 are primarily about the relationship of the speaker and what I refer to as just the golden-haired youth. Okay? There are some in there that are about the golden-haired youth's relationship with this other person, or about the break in this relationship. Okay? 127 through 54 are, to some extent at least, about the speaker and the dark lady. Okay? Though there are allusions to the golden-haired youth, as we'll see. So, 127. In the old age, and you've got a gloss, all that means is earlier times, like before now. In the old age, black was not counted fair. Black wasn't thought of as beautiful. Or if it were, it bore not beauty's name. That is, okay, I'm going to take your objection. Maybe it was counted as fair, but it wasn't held as the ideal of beauty. But now is black beauty's successive heir. And we've been dealing, at least for the first 20 sonnets in the sequence, with that idea of, if you're beautiful, reproduce. Why? One, so the world will have more beauty, right? I mean, just on a pure, base, everyday or normal level. Who do you want to see around you in society? You want to see good-looking people. You don't want to see the lovely lady from Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. You don't want to see people with, one arm hanging way down here and a third eye off to the side, and no. Okay? I know it sounds horrible, it sounds rotten, it sounds cruel. We want beauty around us. Okay? So, it bore not beauty's heir, that is, or name. It wasn't thought of as the ideal. Okay, she's pretty, kind of a thing. But now is black beauty's successive heir. It's the inheritor. It's the natural inheritor. And beauty slandered with a bastard shame. Look at your gloss. The former fair conception of beauty has been discredited as illegitimate and false. Fair in that terminology doesn't mean beautiful. What's it mean? Fair complected, white. The speaker is saying now that is thought to be illegitimate and false. Why? How do you achieve that kind of beauty? Artificially, with powder, or paint even. For since each hand hath put on nature's power, everyone has assumed, footnote, the power to mimic natural beauty through cosmetics. And this is long before Maybelline, Max Factor, the whole 9 yards, you know. Since each hand hath put on nature's power, fearing the foul with art's false borrowed face, making what was ugly pretty with what? Art's artificialities, false borrowed face, like a mask. Sweet beauty hath no name, no holy bower, but is profaned, if not, lives in disgrace. Sweet beauty, I think he's kind of implying natural beauty. Not natural beauty like natural beauty, natural beauty, natural beauty, natural beauty. Natural beauty meaning pretty, but not white. I don't mean white, just white complected. I mean, not even, tan white. Okay? Tan white is dark. Okay, one of the reasons a tan woman was not considered to be beautiful in Shakespeare's day, it was because it implied the kind of occupation she had. How do you get a tan?
Being in the sun.
Implication, streetwalker, hooker, prostitute. You're out in the sun too much. Hamlet plays on this, when he tells Ophelia, don't go in the sun, it will breed maggots in you. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on in that scene. Okay? So, he says, the speaker says, line 9, therefore, because of what I've said in the previous 8 lines, my mistress's eyes are raven black. Notice, we're led to believe that the speaker is talking about kind of like facial beauty, skin color, but he goes to her eyes. Because how many people do you know have light colored eyes? What would be light? Really bright blue, maybe, No. My mistress's eyes are raven black. Her eyes so suited, okay, your gloss, attired, like they put on that color. He's not talking false contacts or anything, okay? And the mourner's seam. You wear black when you're in mourning, right? The mourner's seam at those who, not born fair, no beauty lack. Look at your gloss. At those who, lacking natural beauty, have acquired it artificially. So my mistress's eyes are mourning for them, and who, not being of fair coloration, are in accord with current ideals of beauty. Slandering, the ones doing the slandering are those who, not born fair, beauty lack, slandering creation with a false esteem. See, we think esteem is something, up here that makes us feel good, or in here that makes... No, it's on the outside. Yet so they mourn. They, my mistress's eyes. becoming of their woe. That is, fitting their woe. It's appropriate that my mistress's eyes are black and such, that every tongue says beauty should look so. Every tongue looks at her and says, yep, that's what beauty should be. So the beloved of the speaker now, or let me rephrase that, the beloved of the speaker is the new model, the new epitome of what beauty should seek to be. Okay? Skip 129 for a moment and go to 130, which Sting ripped off for the title of one of his songs back in the 80s. I love this sonnet. Just genius on Shakespeare's part. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. Okay? Go back for a moment to Sonnet 20. And I more bright than theirs, less false in rolling, gilding the object whereupon it gazeth. Okay? So the eye does what? It shoots out light beams. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. It's like, oh, so they're the black hole. It's the opposite. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun. If hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. I have seen roses damasked red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks. And in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. And yet, by heaven, I think my love as rare as any she belied with false compare. So, what Shakespeare has done here, in the person of the speaker's voice, is he's created an anti-blazon. A blazon was a catalog of beauty. So, my mistress's cheeks are red as her cheeks are, crimson, her lips are red, her teeth are white, her hair is gold, etc., etc. And you describe the beauty's, the beloved's beauty as kind of like a map or a catalog of it. That's the blazon. Shakespeare takes that, or Shakespeare's speaker takes that, turns it upside down. He's going to do the exact opposite of what the blazon typically does. My mistress's eyes are not like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. Okay, now stop. You got to stop and pause there for a moment. Coral. What would Shakespeare's experience of coral have been? Coral, like Rose in the Ocean? Where's Shakespeare living and / writing at this time? He's not in the Bahamas. He's not in the Cayman Islands. He's in London. Right? So where would he have seen coral? Somebody would have had to bring it back from the tropics. What happens to coral when you kill it? You take it out of the ocean. It bleaches. It turns white. Or at the very least, pale. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If it's redder than her lips, and out of the ocean it's not red, then what color are her lips? It's kind of like you. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun. Okay, so snow is white. What's dun? It's like dirty dishwater color. Muddyish. Okay? If hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. All right? So she doesn't have beautiful, long, golden, flowing blonde hair. She has crinkly, black, wiry hair. I have seen roses damasked red and white. That is, multicolored roses or parti-colored roses. But no such roses see I in her cheeks. Why not? It's an indication of skin color. Because you can't see the difference between white and red. Yeah, you might see darker, but not white and red. And in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. Notice how those two lines sound. And in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress, verb choice, reeks. What reeks? It's at the bottom of a 55-gallon trash can after a week of collecting trash. It's just foul. I love to hear her speak. Yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. And I always use this example. It might be too dated now. If you ever saw, and I never used to watch it because I couldn't stand so many sitcoms then, The Nanny, Fran Drescher. That's what the speaker is saying the beloved is like. I grant I never saw a goddess go, meaning walk. Well, why? Goddess implies what? Kind of ethereal, doesn't really step on the ground, kind of floats above a little bit. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. Now, Shakespeare is alluding here probably to Sir Philip Sidney's famous sequence Astrophil and Stella. Okay? Astrophil, astro, another word for what? Astronomy, star, Phil, lover, Stella, another name for star. So star lover and star. Where he describes, the speaker describes Stella as being up there, a model of virtue and beautiful behavior and beauty and all this kind of stuff. And the speaker here is saying, no. My lover isn't out there. That is, my lover is not an ideal. She what? She walks upon the ground, implying what we talked about just a few minutes before. She's a hooker. My mistress is a prostitute. And yet, by heaven, that's, Scarlett O'Hara, as God is my witness, I think my love as rare. And love there can refer to my love for her or her. As rare as any she, as any beloved, belied with false compare. That is, comparing my lover, Stella, like with the goddess virtue. Speaker is saying, she's real. This speaker's mistress is real. Okay? So go back to 129 for a moment. The expense of spirit in a waste of shame is lust in action. Notice the pun, by the way, in that line. Waste of of shame or waste of shame? Samuel Johnson, Dr. Samuel Johnson, 18th century writer, poet, critic, etc., said, Shakespeare never met a pun he didn't like. If there was a pun to be found in something, Shakespeare would find it. And it's pretty much true. He puns all the time on the difference between this and this, for example. And if it's a dirty pun, he likes it even more, or a risque pun, let's say. So, the expense of spirit and a waste of shame is lust in action. So what's lust in action? It's the sexual act. Until action, that is, and until it's performed, lust is perjured, murderous, bloody, full of blame, savage, extreme, rude, cruel, not to trust. Because lust is what? It's false. It's all of these other things. Enjoyed, that is, once lust is enjoyed, once it's achieved, once the object of one's lust has been got, or gotten, no sooner but despised straight. How many of you have seen Hitch? Will Smith and Kevin James and, what's her name? I've not seen it in years. Remember the scene when, I think it's either Hitch or the girlfriend, goes to speak to the stock trader who sleeps with what's her name's girlfriend, her best friend, and he gets kneed in the groin or something, and he makes the comment, all this for a lousy lay. That is, he did everything he could to get her into bed. He gets her into bed and enjoyed no sooner but despised straight. Why? Past reason hunted. That is, lust does what? It goes beyond the bounds of reason. Past reason hunted, no sooner had, that is, no sooner obtained, no sooner killed, so to speak, past reason hated as a swallowed bait. What does the bait imply? When a fish swallows bait, what else is it swallowing? The hook that the bait is tied to, or is hooked on. On purpose laid, pun, to make the taker mad. That's the bait, Purpose is the intention, is to make the taker mad. That is, in the wild throes of sexual ecstasy. Mad in pursuit. What's mad mean? Not angry, out of your mind. Past reason, right? Mad in pursuit and in possession so. Had, having, and in quest to have. Extreme. Again, extreme means it goes beyond the boundaries. A bliss in proof, that's the actual fulfilling of the lust, improved, tested, tried, a very woe. Before, when the idea is of what will happen in the fulfillment, a joy proposed. This is beautiful. This is wonderful. It's kind of like Eve's apple, right? Behind, a dream. What's the difference between a joy proposed and a dream? Well, the one you look forward to. The other didn't happen. Not didn't happen as in it didn't really physically happen. It's the joy didn't happen. It wasn't real. Yes, the act was real. The joy was not. All this the world well knows. In other words, everybody knows I'm speaking the truth. Yet none knows well to shun the heaven that leads men to this hell. What's the speaker saying? Women. Can't live with them, can't live without them. This is Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. This is Sir Gawain's comments after, being addressed by the knight. This is his comments kind of taken to their logical extension. Okay. 135. I won't talk about it, just we've got 10 minutes. Shakespeare's punning here. Again, he loves puns. Shakespeare's punning here on his name. Will. Look at your gloss down at the bottom. In Shakespeare's time, the word could also refer to sexual desire, genitalia, volition, obviously. It can even, in times, refer to action. So it's got 4 possible different references. Whoever hath her wish, thou hast thy will. Okay? No matter what or other women may wish for or attain. Whoever hath her wish, thou hast thy will. That is, if you get what you want, then you have your will, right? Your volition, the thing you desire. Volition or desire. And will to boot, that is, will in addition, as a kind of an added prize, so to speak. And will in overplus or superabundance. More than enough am I that vex thee still. That is, I kind of trouble you. To thy sweet will making addition thus. Okay, so to your sweet desire making my addition thus. To your genitals I add mine. To your volition / wish, it's all of these. That in that one line. Wilt thou, notice past tense of the verb, wilt thou, whose will is large and spacious, not once vouchsafe to hide my will in thine. So, what's the purpose of this sonnet? Is it to expand on, the marriage of true minds? No, it has nothing to do with that. I think Shakespeare writes this sonnet for one purpose. Okay? And you could say, well, maybe it's because, he wants to be dirty without being overtly dirty. Okay? Which is true to an extent. He's trying to outdo, I mentioned, this phrase the other day. He's trying to outdo the university wits, the people like Robert Greene that I mentioned, okay, John Donne, Ben Jonson, etc., etc. How? He's trying to out Ovid. The writer of the Ars Amatoria, that little booklet that I said was written as satire about old men trying to get young women in bed. Well, Ovid wrote other stuff like that. But today we would just call dirty or prurient literature. Okay? Shakespeare, like a lot of people did in the 1580s, 90s, 1600s, 1610s, 1600s, tried to see who could out Ovid without being overtly crass. In other words, who could write, double, triple, quadruple entendre so that people could read that and go, oh my God, I can't believe he's actually saying that. But you can look at it and go, yeah, but it doesn't actually really say anything. Where is it? Where's the meaning? It's all here. It's what I bring to it. That's why people can read something and go, well, I don't see that. Well, that's because you don't have a dirty mind like the rest of us, so to speak. Okay? So notice the summation. Let no unkind or unkindness, no fair beseechers kill. Think all but one, all. Think all of your suitors, the footnote says, as just one. In me, in that one, notice, capitalized, will. Think of me as all your suitors, all your lovers. You know, there's a Willie Nelson song. Oh, my family used to joke about it all the time, but now I can't remember. About lovers and drawing a total blank. It was a Renaissance commonplace idea. We're going to see this a little bit with John. If we do, depends on if I have the poem assigned or not, that you could sum up everybody in one person. You know, the idea of the microcosm and macrocosm. Okay? You could take all women and subsume them into one woman. Okay? Shakespeare has that in a couple of the earlier sonnets, where he says, these are ones that are not assigned. Hold on, let me see real quickly. Nope. No, I don't think. Yes, Sonnet 98. Turn to page 1001. Turn to page 892. From you have I been absent in the spring, when proud-pied April, dressed in all his trim, has put a spirit of youth in everything. So, I've been absent from you in the spring. What is spring? It's when the dead come to life again. It's the time of, the birds and the bees, etc. That heavy Saturn laughed and leaped with him, yet nor the lays of birds, nor the sweet smell of different flowers in odor and in hue, could make me any summer story tell, that is, count over or recount, or from their proud lap pluck them where they grew. Nor did I wonder at the lilies white, nor praise the deep vermilion in the rose. So the speaker is talking about differing flowers. They were but sweet, but figures of delight, figures, images, symbols of delight. Drawn after you, you pattern of all those. The speaker is saying, okay, so I dallied a little bit with the lilies and the roses. Why? They're images of you. Yet seemed it winter still, and you away as with your shadow. And when these did play. We were separated, but the speaker suggests, you don't expect me to be all, chaste and celibate, right? So I went and played with your shadows. Very Platonic image. She's up here, the ideal of beauty, or he, the ideal of beauty. And what happens when you shine a light on what's up here? It creates images down here, right? And the speaker's saying, well, I just went and this image, and this image, and this image, and this image. But they're all images of you. So it's not really like I was cheating on you. I was just kind of sampling images of you. So how would that work if your significant other said that to you? Yeah, I don't think so. Okay, we'll stop there. On Wednesday, I do want to do 144 real quickly, and then we'll jump into Ben Jonson. And we'll probably start at least his epitaph on Shakespeare. Medieval exam is up if you haven't seen it. It's due Wednesday night.